Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a while, but I'm back. We used to bleep out gunshots in songs or things like that, and then we would also freak out if there were curse words playing on the radio. Britney Spears would be totally slammed for showing her midriff on live TV. But fast forward to 2025, the music that comes out today is insanely vulgar. It literally makes everything that was happening in like 2008 look like a joke. And I'm thinking of a specific person in my head right now, but honestly, no hate to her because you have the freedom to make whatever kind of music you want, okay? But the problem begins when it starts to be played to minors and people that just should not be listening to it in the first place. But this is where parental guidance really is important, which we're lacking. And this is where teachers' guidance is important, but we're lacking. Okay, for example, here's a clip of somebody performing in a middle school or a high school. It doesn't even matter if it was middle or high school, it's equally as vulgar either way. They're bleeping out the cuss words, but they're not really leaving much to the imagination. Take a listen. I feel like we've been slowly entering this era where standards no longer exist and morals no longer exist, but I'm pretty sure that Gayle King took him with her when she went to space, and she might have just left him up there. Probably just threw him out a window or something like that. We have that and so much more to talk about today. I'm LMA, and welcome back to the conversation. Before I get started, I do want to tell you guys I'm finally done with finals. Yay! I have been researching in this entire time that I haven't been on YouTube, so I have a lot for you guys today. I'm really excited about this video, but I just want to tell you guys about that just to let you know, give you a little scoop. But today we are going to be talking about the culture collapse that is America. One of my big concerns is I feel like we've stopped protecting kids. Usually it's like women and children and then men, you know what I mean? I think women and children are being especially victimized in today's day and age, which I find really crazy because you go back in time to 1912, women and children were the first to get off the Titanic when it started sinking. Clearly, we had importance somewhere down the line. So when did that stop? I'm not saying that grown men aren't a priority. I'm not saying that at all. I think grown men can take care of themselves. I think women and children are seen as more vulnerable. So a couple decades ago, people were aware of that. They know that men can take care of themselves, but women and children necessarily can't. That's why they were prioritized. But we're going to start with where I think is where this collapse really began, which is back in 2007 when Paper Planes was released by MIA. Talking point number one, the normalization of explicit content. I think everybody, it doesn't matter if you're on the left or on the right, if you're white, if you're black, if you're male, if you're female, we can all agree that music today is nasty. It's not edgy, like, you know, they like Avril Lavigne in the 2000s singing What the Hell. It's not edgy like that or creative in that way. It's just nasty and vulgar. And TikTok has essentially put the unfiltered music in the hands of 10-year-olds, which is not TikTok's fault. In my last video, we were talking about social media. The app itself is not the problem. It is the consumer, and it is how they're consuming what they're getting from that app. Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, they're not the problem. If you can't control yourself, if you can't control your child, that's your problem. The same way it's like guns don't kill people, people kill people. That gun isn't just going off by itself. If you're a parent and you're watching this, the best advice I could give you is go on TikTok and look at the trending audios, and I guarantee, if not all of them, at least some of them will have the N-word or cuss words or vulgar statements or some metaphors that are really talking about sex or something like that, you know what I mean? Even teachers have given up, which I know a lot of teachers personally, and this is something that I have heard for years. Educators on YouTube and TikTok are saying that they can barely find clean versions of music nowadays to play for their students. Teachers will provide, you know, study time or something like that where they like to play chill music for the children, which is really nice of them, by the way, but they struggle to find clean music because it's not as labeled as it was before. I just think it's so funny because in the late 2000s, we were censoring gunshots, a literal sound effect on the radio. But now curse words and violence and drugs and gangs is pushed so heavily. But MIA couldn't produce a song with gunshots in it. Make it make sense. You will get totally shamed if you're like, I want a traditional marriage. I want to get married. I want to save myself from marriage. I want to have children. People don't want that anymore. People are like, no, just drugs, money, hella, shaking. This is going to be a side note, but I was just thinking about how like body count and things like that have been so apparent, I feel like, in today's day and age. I'll probably get some backlash on this, but I personally believe that body count is more important for women than it is for men. Now, before I get canceled for saying that, let me just explain myself, okay? It really is different. Women are biologically different than men, especially mentally. We get a lot of F-boys nowadays, but answer me this. When was the last time you heard of an F-girl? You know, it's just not a thing. You've heard of an OF girl. If you're a woman and you believe that your body count doesn't matter, you can just go have these hookups and you can act like a man and be like a man and be nonchalant, you're lying to yourself and you're probably living a miserable life. Because women are designed to have babies, nurture them, build a family, get married. Men are quite literally the opposite. They were designed to hunt, protect, and provide. But it goes hand in hand. We need to work together as men and women. Men can handle having hookups a lot better than women because there's no emotional connection. Anyway, body count matters for women, and for a man, if he has a high body count, it says a lot about where he chooses to lay his head at night. So I'm not saying that it's okay to have a high body count as a man, but I'm definitely saying it's not okay to have a high body count as a woman. Fight me on it. I don't care. I literally don't care. And if you disagree, then you are in denial. Anyway, talking point 2. The erosion of traditional gender roles. So not long ago, boys were boys and girls were girls, and we knew where that line was drawn. I don't know why society is so obsessed with erasing that line, because now everything's non-binary. Like, why do we all want to be the same? See, society used to honor women, truly, for the most part, and now we have grown men running around in wigs and heels mocking women.
Heels? They're my hiking heels. I love them.
Constantly.
Meadows. Love them.
All the time. All over the internet.
I'm scared of getting Lyme disease.
And they get praised for it. They're actively trying to erase men and women. Gender is not a costume, okay? Womanhood is not a brand deal. I'm talking to you, Dylan Mulvaney. And also, I think it's really nasty that you call it girlhood. You're a grown man. If you want to be trans, you can be trans. Don't say you're in girlhood. That's creepy. You're a grown man. Girlhood is when you get your period and you start to menstruate and you're going through changes. You're not going through that, Dylan, okay? You never will. For example, here's a grown man that I saw on TikTok the other day who is talking about how he is detransitioning and how he was sold a lie for, I think it was like 10 or 12 years. Take a listen. Children need structure and rules, not ideologies, not things that are going to confuse them. They need role models, not drag queens in their classrooms teaching them about kinks. Young developing minds are being bombarded with ideas that they're too young to understand. And the adults pushing it, they know exactly what they're doing. This isn't about expression, this is about indoctrination, and they're doing it fast. We used to teach children that they need to dream big and anything's possible and always shoot for the stars but aim for the moon. But now we're teaching them that maybe they were born in the wrong body. How do they not see how that's wrong? Talking point number 3, the impact on the youth. We've taken their innocence and replaced it with confusion, sexuality, and ideologies that they'll never be able to understand at their age. We used to protect children, but now we're literally feeding, not we, I honestly shouldn't say we, left is feeding them content that would have been rated R like a decade ago. It's not only being pushed through cartoons and music and social media, but it's in the classrooms. It's everywhere. You don't have to be a parent to understand that this is wrong. We shouldn't be doing this. Kids aren't just confused, they're being conditioned. Like, I feel like they're like just growing their little miniature army of children as we speak. Like, the fact that people are bringing their 5-year-olds to pride rallies where men are prancing around in G-strings, how do you think that's okay? But I bet you that's the same parent that if something like that were to come on a screen, but it was a straight man, God forbid they were white, oh, we gotta turn that off. Come on, son, let's go to the pride rally where the men have boobs. See, if you mess with a child's mind at this young an age, they're not gonna grow out of it. This will permanently damage them. Teachers nowadays can't even find clean music to play for their kids in classrooms, but they can go down the hall, go into the library, and you can hand a 5th grader a book that describes sex in graphic detail.
So Pride Puppy was the book that was used for the pre-kindergarten curriculum. That's no longer in the curriculum.
That's the one where they are supposed to look for the leather and things and bondage, things like that.
It's not bondage. It's a woman in a leather.
Sex worker, right?
No.
No?
That's not correct. No.
I read it.
It's a drag queen.
Drag queen and drag
correct.
queen.
The leather that they're pointing to is a woman in a leather jacket. And one of the words is drag queen in the search.
And they're supposed to look for those.
It is an option at the end of the book, correct?
Yeah, okay.
How does that make sense? Talking point number 4, paper planes and censorship of music. So back in 2007, MIA debuted her hit song Paper Planes on the David Letterman show, which is The Late Show. And that's on MTV, by the way. All things that are pretty adult sounding, but we all know the famous like gunshots in the chorus. But when she debuted it, when she performed it for the first time, they didn't play the gunshots, which makes sense. You're performing on national television. That is very different. But following that, she released a song, I think it was like February of 2008, that it was formally released. On the radio, they'd censored the gunshots, but then the next song that played will be talking all about all this crazy stuff with all these cuss words, and that wasn't getting censored. One sound effect got censored from this huge song that probably made a lot of people a lot of money. This song had zero sexual content, zero profanity, and it was a global hit. Gunshots, nope, take it off the shelves. With the songs that come out, I really do feel like they sit in a room together and they're like, all right, what is the nastiest thing you can think of? Let's make a song about that. Like people like Sexy Red and Kevin Gates. Once again, I want to make this very clear. People are allowed to make whatever kind of music they want. Go for it. Because me personally, I don't have kids myself, but I will know how to shelter them from that and block them from that until they're of age to be listening to things like that. Now we're going to talk about the double standards in music. So Mike Posner, if you're not aware who that is, he is the creator of Cooler Than Me and Please Don't Go. Those were really big in the 2000s. He's also the creator of today's biggest hits, and you would have no idea. Basically, what had happened to Posner was when Cooler Than Me dropped, it did so phenomenally well that his label believed that he wasn't going to be able to top that just because it did so well. Since he wasn't flashy enough for the media, the label shelved him, and they would just sell his music to other people. For example, he sold Sugar to Maroon 5, and then the song Boyfriend by Justin Bieber, that was originally written by Posner too. And the industry plays favorites, okay? I think we've seen this a lot, especially with Nickelodeon. A lot of people will say that Dan Snyder had favorites, like Ariana Grande and Miranda Cosgrove were favoritized over Jeanette McCurdy and Victoria Justice. All women are equally as talented in many ways, but it just goes to show that the media and the industry will always play favorites. The song Umbrella by Rihanna, I think we all know it too well. I know I do, because my name is in the title. But that song was written with Britney Spears in mind. It was written by Jay-Z. Britney Spears' team originally just shot it down because they felt like it was too mainstream for her. And also at the time, it was like 2007, 2008, she was probably going through a lot of stuff as well that wasn't really announced to the public yet. Another song was Love Me Like You Do by Ellie Goulding, and that was originally written by Tove Lo and a couple other people. It was going to be for Tove Lo, but she shot it down. She felt like it wasn't her vibe. So this is happening a lot in the industry. A lot of artists will sell their own songs that they make because they do feel like it doesn't fit their style or something like that, or they feel like it could fit somebody else way better. Talking point number 5. Dylan Mulvaney, branding womanhood. In 2023, Dylan Mulvaney, a grown man with no actual lived experience as a woman, became the face of girlhood, actually made Woman of the Year as well. Not womanhood, girlhood. And brands just loved that. Everyone was like, yeah, that sounds great. Grown man prancing around, talking about girlhood. Bud Light essentially slapped his face on a beer can and congratulated him for pretending to be a 12-year-old girl. When this happened, I think everybody remembers when this happened because Anheuser-Busch has not recovered since. So let's just get this straight. Dylan Mulvaney is not revolutionary or brave. He's an actor, and a really good one at that. If you guys aren't aware, Dylan Mulvaney has been a theater kid since way back when. But I do think that Dylan saw this little split in reality and went for it, and it really worked. He's made a lot of money. If I were to culturally appropriate some culture that was not mine, the African American culture or Indian or Asian culture, that would be racist. If I were to, do that, prance around, be like, no, I am Asian. You don't think I'm Asian? Well, you're racist. That is essentially the logic that we're applying here. I can just wake up one day and be like, oh, no, today I'm gonna be black. Today I feel black. Like, you can't do that. The same goes for gender. You can't just wake up and be a girl and want to do girlhood when you're a grown man, you creep. I want to make it very clear, when I talk about the LGBTQ plus QIA, whatever, I am not talking about our beloved LGB. The lesbian, gay, and bi people of this world are not the problem. They are so far from the problem that I feel bad that they are in this community because they know it's wrong and people will come out and say that it's wrong.
Now I'm here as a member of Gays Against Groomers because I'm concerned about the welfare of children in schools and what they're being exposed to.
They're taking it to another level, and everyone's aware of this. It's not the lesbians, it's not the gay men, it's not the bisexual people. It is the trans and the queer and the pan, like it is all that. Those are the problem, okay?
What if the federal government said that instead of transgender people, they wanted to exclude all Christians, or all black people, or all women, or all immigrants, which they try?
They're trying to erase men and women. I don't know what it is about men and women, they just don't like it. Don't hate from outside the club. Nothing says we support women like giving $1 million tampon brand deals to men and telling little girls that their biology is offensive. Talking point number 6. Grooming in schools and ideological indoctrination. So once upon a time, I know it's really hard to believe, you guys, but they actually taught like math and science and reading and writing in elementary schools. I know. I'm honestly glad that they pushed that out, because now they're teaching them how to pick their pronouns and how to question their bodies. I think that's way more important for 5th graders than math. We're not talking about college electives or high school debates. We're talking about K through 8th grade.
Transgender people have a very clear idea of their gender at a pretty young age.
They are targeting the young children.
Certainly by their teens, and some as early as 2 or 3 years old.
Because they know they can't do this to high schoolers, because high schoolers are just too smart for that. You know, they already have their own identity at that point. They're going after the elementary schoolers and the middle schoolers because their brains are like little plush toys, okay? Very impressionable. They know that. They're taking it to their advantage. It is so perverted. Just to put it into perspective, the children that are getting victimized here are still learning how to tie their shoes, okay? And not only are they still learning how to tie their shoes, but they're doing bunny ears when they tie their shoes. They're not even hitting the 1 loop yet. They're young enough that they can't even do the 1 loop. Why are they learning about transgenderism? Sexualized content has nothing to do with the classroom. It has no place in the classroom. And before I get anybody telling me, what about sex ed? They're literally like, okay, this is how babies are made. It's light, okay? They don't go into very much detail at all, if any, okay? Because these are children we're talking about. And a lot of parents have the option to opt their kid out of sex ed. You would be sent home with a form probably a week prior, and your parent had the option to let you go to the sex ed class or not. These children, their parents aren't getting a choice. There's no forms being sent home to the parents asking them if it's okay. These teachers are pushing these agendas without even it being in the curriculum. Do you know how illegal that is? In Deerfield, Illinois, a 13-year-old girl refused to change in the locker room in front of a trans-identifying biological male. And when her mother filed a formal complaint about this issue, the school claimed they were being inclusive by violating her privacy. You literally cannot make this up, okay? Now, this is the cultural collapse that I was talking about. I thought that was the whole thing about, like, this community. Like, I thought the left was all about being inclusive and comfortable and accepting everybody. Then why aren't you accepting us the way we are? And if you think this ends in the classroom, then you just haven't been paying attention. Final talking point. Cultural collapse and the aftermath, and what to expect next. So many kids nowadays are depressed, full of anxiety, suicidal, confused, and they haven't even hit puberty yet. And the consequences are already here. Truly, we are watching it in live action. We didn't just lower the bar, we threw it out the window. And I don't know if you've ever seen like a meme where it's like uncomfortable truths or comfortable lies, and it's like everybody's in the comfortable lie line because it's just easier. The death of standards wasn't an accident, it was a choice. So I guess my final question to you is, which one will you choose? I'm LMA, and thanks for tuning in to the report.